Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are continuing to read from the purport of chapter 13, text 8 to 12. Purport we read, Srila Prabhupada was saying that one practices devotional service, all the other qualities will follow. But we also have to cultivate those qualities, beginning with humility, non-violence. We read about humility, non-violence, right? Non-violence means giving Krishna consciousness to all, because each of us is suffering in the material world. So helping everyone get out of here, that is real non-violence. Humility is to understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. To not expect any honor from others. Lord Chaitanya says, Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saisana amanena manadena kirtanya sadahari. Being more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, giving all respect to others and not expecting any for ourselves. And in this way we can chant the holy name constantly. Humility attracts Krishna to us. Yeah. Bible says the doors of heaven are open to those who are humble and meek. So humility is very important quality. Okay, let's read on then. Tolerance.
Okay, so I read.
Please.
Tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Even a boy like Prahlad, who only 5 years old was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became antagonist, antagonistic to his devotion. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlad tolerated him. So there may be many impediments to making advancement in spiritual knowledge, but we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination.
Any examples? Tolerance. Here, like Prahlad Maharaj is one example.
Hmm.
Haridas Thakur,
Yes, Haridas Thakur. What happened?
he was ribbed in the marketplace, 22 marketplace, and then he tolerated it.
Yeah, whipped in 24 marketplaces. Because he was a devotee, they were telling him, stop chanting. So, tolerance. As we just said, Lord Chaitanya is also saying, be more tolerant than a tree. Continue our progress with determination. So if we are tolerant, we will also be determined. If we are humble and tolerant, we will also be determined to continue with Krishna consciousness. Okay.
So this is the, like, as you said, that it will be humble and tolerant, then we will be determined. So then, is it that these two qualities give you determination,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but well, in relation to Krishna consciousness, right?
Yeah, in relation to Krishna consciousness. But when you are being
Yeah.
tolerant in Krishna consciousness, and when
Yeah.
you are tolerant and humble, right? So
Yeah.
then you get determination, right? That
Yeah.
no matter what, I'm going to do it. So this is the result of both of these, right?
Yeah. Or you
Yeah.
could say that because you're determined, you will try to cultivate humility and tolerance.
Also, it's vice versa.
It could be they're interdependent, I would say.
Okay,
You
interdependent.
know,
Okay,
the more
okay.
tolerant and the more humble, the
Mhm.
more determined, and then the more determined, the more humble and
Mm.
tolerant, right?
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessings upon his disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulative principles. Or the regulative principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation.
So what are the two qualities here? What are the two things mentioned here?
Simplicity and
Yeah,
mm, being
s-
straightforward.
that is what simplicity is here. Srila Prabhupada is saying. Simple, be simple. So what does it mean? Simplicity. Straightforward about what?
About telling the truth.
Yeah, this is the real truth.
Mm.
Disclose the real truth even to an enemy.
Mm.
Yeah. The real truth is Krishna is God. Absolute truth.
Mm.
Right? Okay, and what's the next one?
Spiritual master.
Yeah. Acceptance of spiritual master. So taking instructions from the spiritual master, right?
Mm.
How should the spiritual master be approached?
Um, we should be ready to serve him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And humbly serve him with humility. And Krishna says, right, in chapter 4, text 34, Tatvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth from a self-realized soul. Approach him with humility and serve him. And the self-realized soul, the pure devotee, will impart the knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. So by getting the blessings of the spiritual master, you can uh, advance, advance in Krishna consciousness by his mercy. So what is the mercy? So one is like the blessings. Here Prabhupada is saying if he bestows any blessings upon his disciple, that will make disciple immediately advance without disciples following the regulative principles, or the regulative principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. So one who has served the spiritual master, then he can also follow what the instructions the spiritual master is telling. That's what we need to do. We need to follow the instructions, right? And that's the rope that's been given to us to get out of this material world. It's the instructions of the spiritual master. So we simply have to follow these instructions with humility, with the attitude of service. So service to spiritual master is of two types. One is Vapu and one is Vani. Serving the physical body of the spiritual master, that's Vapu. Vani is serving the instructions of the spiritual master. Vapu always may not be possible for everyone. Due to time, place, circumstances, one may not be able to serve the physical body of the spiritual master. But Vani, one can always follow the instructions of the spiritual master wherever one may be. Is that okay?
Yes, in this, the regulative principles are these the four regulative principles: no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex, and the fourth one, no
Yeah,
intoxication. Yeah.
yeah. And chant Hare Krishna.
So they say if you're blessed by spiritual master, then you don't have to follow these regulative principles. You are like
No,
immediately
no. It's not that you don't have to follow. You will be able to follow
okay.
in the sense the once you get the mercy of the spiritual master, you will want to follow them. You will be able to follow them because one may say, "Oh well, I got the mercy of my spiritual master, so I can do whatever I want. I can, you know, have intoxication. I can." But no, no, that's not the case.
I think yeah. So it means one automatically starts to follow these
That's right.
principles.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah. Says Prabhupada is saying it will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservations.
Mm,
Right?
okay.
Okay. And the next one.
Neha Mataji, do you want to read?
Okay, I can read. Cleanliness is essential for making advancement in spiritual life. There are two kinds of cleanliness, external and internal. External cleanliness means taking a bath. But for internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna always and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This process cleans the accumulated dust of past karma from the mind.
Mm. What is cleanliness?
So, like the cleanliness is, they are saying that the cleanliness externally and internally. So, the external will be that you take bath, you clean your
Mm.
body,
Mm.
and then the internal will be that you chant. You always think of Krishna, you always remember Krishna, and you chant Hare Krishna.
Mm. Because then the
Names,
consciousness gets clean, right?
yes, the consciousness.
And chanting Hare Krishna, and then our consciousness is getting clean. Chitokdarpanamarjanam.
Yes.
So cleans the dust from the mirror of the mind by chanting Hare
So,
Krishna.
sorry, Shilpa ji, I'm just asking. So, like, um, what are these? Are the qualities?
But this is what Krishna is saying that only this is knowledge. And
Okay,
this
these
8 to
qualities are the
12,
knowledge.
these,
Yeah.
yeah. And Prabhupada is saying the most important of all this is engage in devotional service by accepting a spiritual master, and then everything else will follow.
Okay.
But we also have to say that we can't say, okay, I'm chanting, so I'm not going to bother trying to cultivate any of these qualities. I'll behave in
Mm.
whatever way I want. So we need to cultivate them also because our chanting is not so pure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Our chanting is still in the beginning stages. So then we
Mm.
also intentionally try to cultivate all these qualities.
So, like, that means that if I'm humble, I'll be able to acquire the knowledge easily. If
That's right.
I'm prideless, then I'll be able to acquire the knowledge, right?
Mm. Yeah. Humility
Okay.
is the first one. That's why it was described.
Okay.
Humility attracts us to
Mm.
Krishna, right?
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah. If you see in our regular dealings also, if we find somebody who's very arrogant, then,
Mm.
we ourselves will say, it's okay, I don't want to, I mean, okay, I'll be formal with them, but we're not
Yeah,
going to
you
be like,
understand. Yeah. Yes. You want to have a distance. You're not cordial with them, then you just
with
stay in touch.
arrogance,
How much is required?
whatever.
How much is required, right?
Yeah, that's what, how much is required. But if somebody is humble, then you are going to
Mm.
spend, they want to spend time with you, then you will say, yeah, sure, come, can spend more
Mm.
time.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Mm.
So I'll read one more and then Sheila Mataji can read. Yeah.
Okay.
Steadiness means that one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Without such determination, one cannot make tangible progress. And self control means that one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. This is real renunciation. The senses are so strong that they are always anxious to have sense gratification. One should not cater to these demands, which are not necessary. The senses should only be gratified to keep the body fit so that one can discharge his duty in advancing in spiritual life. The most important and uncontrollable sense is the tongue. If one can control the tongue, then there is every possibility of controlling the other senses. The function of the tongue is to taste and to vibrate. Therefore, by systematic regulation, the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of the foodstuff offered to the Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna and the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. This is the process of devotional service, and it is understood here that Bhagavad Gita is simply expounding the science of devotional service. Devotional service is the main and sole objective. Unintelligent commentators on the Bhagavad Gita try to divert the mind of the reader to other subjects. But there is no other subject in Bhagavad Gita than devotional service.
Okay. So which is the quality?
Steadiness, and it is like one should be determined to progress in spiritual life.
Mm-hmm. Determined, yeah, to be steady, right? Regularly.
Yeah,
When
to be
one
steady,
makes
yeah.
up the mind, okay, regularly I'm going to hear and chant regularly.
Mm,
Then that is steadiness, right? Not that, okay, I'm going
yeah.
to chant today and then I'll chant after 1 year,
Mm.
right? So being steady regularly. And then what is self control?
Well, one should not accept anything which is hindrance to the path of spiritual progress.
Yeah. Means accept everything that is favorable,
Favorable for
which helps
Krishna.
us to
In which
remember
position?
Krishna, reject everything that helps us forget Krishna. That makes us forget Krishna, that needs to be rejected. Something that helps us remember Krishna, serve Krishna, that should be accepted. So that is real renunciation.
Mm.
And see, so the object is always to remember Krishna. Then how to engage the senses?
So they have said that the most important one is the tongue, and we should always taste the prasadam with the tongue and chant Hare Krishna, so we can engage the tongue. Then the eyes, we can take the darshan of the Archa Vigraha and the deities.
Mhm.
Then the nose, we can smell the flowers offered to Krishna.
Mm.
The ears, we can hear the katha and the leelas and the bhajan of Krishna.
Mm.
And then the hands, we can clap for Krishna.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. This way all senses should be engaged in service of Krishna.
Mm.
So that is devotional service, Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that that is what Krishna keeps on explaining this. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna wants us to take up devotional service, wants us to engage in devotional service. That's the real message of Bhagavad Gita. Engage in devotional service. right? He says, Mama evam sajiva
Hmm.
loke, you are my parts and parcels.
Yeah.
Then he sings, surrender unto me. Then he says, Bhaktya mama bichanati, only by devotion you can know me. Then there's so many places he's saying also, he says that Devihi
Manmana
Yasha
Madhvabhakto.
Gunamai, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto.
Mhm.
Yeah, he repeats that twice.
Hmm.
It's always devotion that Krishna is speaking about. So then, what should, okay, so now it's said that the senses have to be engaged in the service of Krishna. So then, should we disregard this body that we are in?
No.
No, that's right. You have to keep this body fit and healthy. Why? So that we can engage in devotional service. Because when we say, oh, well, then anyway, I'm not the body, so what's the use? I don't need the body. No, we need the body to,
Hmm.
as Prabhupada is saying,
Oh.
discharge his duty in advancing in spiritual life.
Hmm.
So, the duty.
Hmm.
Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Sheena Mataji, you can read.
Okay. False ego means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and his spirit soul, he comes to his real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature, Brahad Aranyakya Upanishad 1.4.10, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman, I am spirit. This I am. The sense of self also exists in the liberated stage of self realization. This sense of I am is ego, but when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. There are some philosophers who say we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body.
Hmm. So, what is false ego and true ego?
False ego is the one with which we identify with the body, and real ego is the one, uh, like, we don't. Uh, how to how to explain that? Real ego is the like that we are the servants of Krishna. We want
Hmm.
to serve, and we are not this body.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
False ego is thinking I'm the body.
Yes.
Real ego is understanding I'm servant of Krishna. I'm spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. I'm servant of Krishna. That is real
Mm.
ego. Right?
And this is what we discussed yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Being all explained here now.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Oh, one should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother is suffering, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are all mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased and no one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding these. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life.
So what is here? What is in this verse?
Like we should accept all these distresses
Um,
and we should try to come out of those, especially birth and death.
yeah.
And in old age and disease, like we should stay, you know, equipoised.
Yeah. Because actually, material life, we are taught, okay, yeah, it happens. People are born, people die. Yeah, you get old and you get disease. So, sure, medical science is trying to make us look younger and making more medicine so that we uh, can get treatment for many diseases. But then new diseases are coming up. No matter how young we look, we still, our age keeps on increasing, right? Can't stop that growing old. And then birth, we are celebrating our birthdays every year without understanding that actually it's a great suffering when we were being born. And death is surely going to come. So we are accepting all this in material life, but spiritual life is telling us, hey, why are you accepting these? This is not normal. You're the spirit soul. Why you want to put yourself through all this every time in each body? Because no matter which body we take up in this material world, we are going to go through these things. So spiritual life is saying that don't accept this. Make a solution to this. And there is a solution. That is get out of this material world. Go back home, back to Godhead. So yeah, that's what Prabhupada is saying. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there's no impetus. Because if we keep thinking, oh well, yeah, that's how it is. That's a rule of the material world. If I have to live in this material world, I have to follow it. Then the point to be raised is why should we continue to live in the material world? You don't need to. We can make this life our last life in this material world by engaging in devotional service. Okay, let's stop here.
Yeah.
Okay. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta
I
Vrinda
just
ki
wanted
jai.
to
Hare
ask you,
Yes,
did you
Neha.
did you
Yes.
recorded the sessions, the previous ones, any?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have the 13th. So can you please share with me the 13th beginning?
I'll send you. I'll
Yeah.
send you. I already put it on YouTube. I'll
Yeah,
I'll
I couldn't
forward.
see that time. So is it there now? I
Yeah.
couldn't see that time. So now you've put it, right?
Yeah. I'll share it with you also.
Okay, okay. Thank
Maybe
you
I've
so much.
not saved it in a proper way, but yeah, I'll send you. I'll send you.
Okay, yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.